So as spring is steadily dawning upon us, I thought it'd be a good idea to start, clearing up the garden. We bought the house a year ago, and we're slowly and steadily starting to address some of the stuff on the survey. But one thing which sort of flagged up on our survey was to start sorting out the decking, because our decking is like rotten and sort of like janky. So my dad, my uncle, me and my partner, we spent all of Saturday morning just clearing out the decking, like ripping it up. Some of the decking was like crumbling to dust and whatnot. And then underneath the decking there's like a structural T piece underneath. There's like a massive like chunk of wood in like the shape of a T. I picked it up, and then my girlfriend just basically turned and was like, "Are you pretending to be Jesus? Like taking like the cross up to like the hill?" So I thought, yeah, I'm going to crucify myself after all this hard work. And then, no joke, about 5 minutes later, my dad goes sort of behind. We've got like a massive sort of summer house in the garden as well. And then it's like got boards either side, which have basically just stored like loads of rubbish. My dad goes behind there and comes out with an actual heavy wooden cross. And it's got like a plaque on the front and like a bell wrapped around it. And it says, "In loving memory," and then name, date. And I was just like, wow, we just found like a grave memorial in my garden. I'm just like, what the fuck do you do with this? Because literally all the rubbish which we were getting up in the garden, we were planning to put it into a skip. But what the fuck do I do with a grave memorial? Like, what do I do?
I don't know. You tell us.
I literally don't know. Like, yeah, but we were joking around saying, oh, have we now sort of going to enter spirits, like disturb the spirits and like invite them into the house, or set up a Ouija board? I'd be like, "Are you still there?" for them to say yes.
Look, if the corpse leaves any bins out, just put them out with yours, all right?
Just put it up in bin bags and just put it in just domestic waste.
Don't move the gravestones. We don't want a poltergeist situation going.
Well, it's now currently resting against the conservatory door. So it's already been moved.
So it's still resting in peace. You just brought it indoors.
Well, obviously, I don't think it's an actual grave. I think it's just like a memorial. But it's the fact that it says like "in loving memory." But obviously, if it's been there for a year since we've moved in, obviously the previous homeowners couldn't have been in that much loving memory to have actually just left it here. But I'm just like, so I'm just gonna add this on ad hoc and just pose this as a question to you guys. What has been the weirdest thing you have found in your house when doing a clear up?
Not really anything that weird. Not really much, to be honest. I think you're the only one with an answer to that.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever found anything strange, bar myself.
So I was just thinking, like, because it just seems for some reason, like, I said this literally before we start recording, that why does a lot of weird things just happen to me?
I don't know.
Like,
I think weird things happen to all three of us, but I think the stuff that happened to you, you're always like, oh, this is just, I need to talk about this, or this is just me being me, and I'll mention it. Oh, like weird things happen to me. Like I what was it? The other week I was driving and I saw a van open his door 3 times while driving down a road in Hinckley, and I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, weird things happen to everyone. It's not just you.
I know, with you on that. I think it's just because, Brandon, you're still like relatively normal. So if you see something weird, you acknowledge that it's weird. Whereas weird shit happens to me all the time, and that's just part of the course. It's just daily life for me. I just get strange messages from random people all the time. It's like, yeah, it's just another day.
I think also what doesn't help is that we just get a lot of weird stuff just happening in Leicester town centre as well. Like,
yeah.
Just walking down and the amount of crackheads just shouting and doing weird stuff, or just even the street performers. I'm just like, oh, there's the saxophone man. Or like, oh, there's another street performer. When it's just like, oh, it's getting to a point now where I am starting to get numb to like street performers and stuff. But it's just when weird stuff just catches me off guard, like finding a fucking grave or a memorial in my garden. I'm just like, I can't. This is weird. I have to talk about this because this is just weird.
Well, I was trying to think of like some way I could segue Victor Melder into this by suggesting that you've got one foot in the grave, but I can't think of one. I don't believe it.
Oh, you've let the side down, man.
I think you've missed a pun.
Oh. I thought you were actually being serious, saying that you got one foot in the grave and you.
Hello, and welcome to Victory Achieved Podcast, a podcast where we discuss movies, anime, TV, computer games, and other stuff. Yes, if you've listened to the podcast before, you may know this already. Anyway, to not the left of me is Dan.
Yo.
And to not the right of me with one foot in the grave is Brandon.
Hello.
Hello, lads. So, this is a bit of a weird episode because we have plenty to discuss, but nothing to really bond it together. So it's kind of like a grab bag, but I think we've got a sort of formula. So how we're going to break this down is we are going to talk about some of the newer stuff we've been playing. I'm watching. Have a little bit of a Star Wars in the middle, and then talk about some stuff from our backlogs, some older stuff, which, you know, retro fans may enjoy. So it's kind of a sandwich, I suppose. Although we've already got an episode called A Video Game Sandwich, so we're going to have to come for something else. And we got burger as well, so yeah, I don't know. We'll come up with some other food stuff. A baguette, I don't know.
I was literally about to say baguette.
A video game baguette. There we go.
Yes.
That's the episode.
Yes.
There we go, making Dan's life easy for him.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, so I suppose we'll start off with something that's relatively new, which, well, very new actually, as time of recording, because it only came out on the Friday, and we record this on Monday. So Brandon has played this as well, and since we're Victory Achieved, we like Dark Souls, may as well start off with a Dark Souls topic. So, we have been playing Wo Long.
Whoa.
And Brandon, what do you think so far?
Okay, so
No, it's just the fact you're like, whoa, you were like, wait, this is the first topic? I'm like, yeah, of course.
no, I was just saying Wo Long because whoa, long.
I was trying to guess what kind of woe it is. Is it more sort of Keanu Reeves sort of whoa, or a Owen Wilson kind of wow?
Nah. So when I say this is full disclosure, I was looking to get Wo Long on the PS5. And I couldn't find it in Argos, couldn't find it in game, couldn't find it in CX. I could not find this fucking game anywhere. So you're going to like this, Chris. I impulse bought an Xbox Series X. And with that, I bought Game Pass, for which Wo Long is already on there. So yeah, it's on Game Pass.
Welcome to the club. You're going to steal my catchphrase. Game Pass, man. Can't have two.
Yeah. So while it was downloading, I thought, okay, I'll just read a couple of the reviews, just see what's going on. And for some reason, I kept seeing that it was rated as a 5 out of 10, and I was just like, it can't be this bad. Like Neo was rated highly, Sekiro was rated highly. I'm just like, what's the problem here? Like I was wondering what's going on. And all of the 1-star ratings was everyone literally shouting about saying, oh, the first boss is too hard. And it's like, all right, I'll be the judge of that. And I think I was on the first boss for half an hour, maybe, and then I was off. And I will admit, I don't know if you feel the same way about this, Chris. Zhang Liang, it is Zhang Liang, isn't it? The first boss around the Zhang
General of Man, yeah.
Yeah. The first boss, compared to the second, third, and fourth boss, is a bit difficult compared to the second, third, and fourth. Would you agree? I
would say he is the hardest boss I've come across so far. I'm like on the 5th main mission and done a couple of side stories as well. So yeah, and yeah, he's by far the hardest. I'd say I was on him for like probably about the same as you, about half hour. But honestly, from what I understand, you've really got to like master the parry mechanic.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. One thing which I'm sort of like, I don't care what these 1-star blasters say. That first boss really hammers into you, like learning how to do the parry mechanics and everything. So in terms of like a difficulty spike, yeah, it's a big difficulty spike, but that's purely because it's literally hammering into you the absolute essential game mechanics.
Yeah, and we emphasize hammering into you because he's got a big hammer.
Yeah, massive hammer. But yeah, so I mean, so far, like I think most of my problems is actually just getting used to an Xbox controller. Interface-wise, it is, as you said in the group chat, it's really similar to Neo.
It is scarily similar to Neo. It's the same text font. It's like the UI is practically the same. I swear, if you took your glasses off and you like squinted at it, you'd swear it was the same game at first glance.
But I will say the one thing which I do miss of this compared to Neo is on Neo you have like you can either do the YX or the A attacks, like where you can do the low-level attacks, mid-level attacks, and the stances. Like I really like the stance mechanic in the Neo games. But yeah, how else are you finding Wo Long? Because obviously you're slightly further ahead of me. Because I think you're one day ahead of me in it.
Yeah, I got sidetracked by other games, but so I've been like playing it on and off. But yeah, it really, if you've played Neo, you've played Wo Long. It really is like that.
Essentially, it's like where Neo is the Japanese mythology. Wo Long, it takes the the Warring States period of China, using that mythology with like the ancient Chinese mythical creatures compared to like Neo, which did the Onis, the Japanese mythical creatures.
Yeah.
Which is literally what it is. and then gameplay wise, it's literally Neo meets Sekiro.
It
isn't
really is. It really is. I'd say what I'm trying to think what actually sets it apart. Like, I'm struggling
Nothing.
a bit. No, so I was struggling a little bit with the combat because I was using like a couple of different weapons. But on the third mission, I got a pair of swords, and I quite like the pair of swords from like Neo, and they're like the much faster weapons. And I've found like the difficulty for fighting things have gone from like relatively difficult to a lot easier just using those.
I prefer just using the bog standard sword. But what threw me off is that even though something's under the bracket of sword, even the swords have different movement mechanics. So like I had my default sword, and then later I picked up a bronze sword, and the bronze sword just moved a lot slower than my ringed pommel sword. I was like, what the fuck? I thought these were in the same class.
Yeah, it's kind of deceptive how that is. At the minute, anyway, there seems to be like less weapons, like sort of like variety. Like
what classifications there are there? Sword, padals, halberds.
Halberds, spears. Which I started using a spear, and I found a halberd, which was just better. But then I switched to a double-handed swords, and I'm getting on a lot better with them. But how I mean is like whereas in Neo, you found like similar sort of weapons, but there were like lots of different like up and down on stats, a bit like guns in Borderlands. The ones I found, at least at the time of our playing, have all had like the same stats. They've had like slightly different like buffs, like plus 2% like XP gain, that kind
That's
of
literally like Neo.
But actually like the flat damage is like the same. Like I seem to find more sort of variety in Neo, like just like damage wise.
One thing which actually, you know how you were saying what to separate Wolong compared to Neo Sekiro is the elemental interactions, because so they've got like this rock paper scissors method in it where water beats fire, fire beats metal, metal beats stone, stone beats wood, and wood beats water. And so like you can level up each of your different elemental skills basically, and then you can use spells based on those elements. But each of the elements also has their own sort of perks and things. Like water increases your stealth, wood increases your vitality, fire increases your like physical damage. I think stone, I can't remember what stone and metal does. But like when you got, I think it was the third mission where you got introduced to the wizardy people, like because that's when it gave you the tutorial about you can cancel other spells by using a spell of the opposite affinity. So I thought, okay, I'll give this a go. But my god, you do not get a lot of timing based on when a spell comes to you for you to be able to cancel it out. You really don't.
I'll be honest, I haven't really used spells all that much. I've tried a couple of them, like I've tried the earth one, the water one, the fire one.
That narrows it down. And
yeah, to be honest, I found them very underwhelming. I realised I may be doing it wrong, but I'm just having a blast.
What I've been doing is been doing my like default move mechanic, but after the very last hit, obviously rather than going back into another chain of attacks, I always finish it off with a spell because it chains into it, and then you can flow straight after the spell into the remaining movement. So I'd like do using my source and then end it on like the close range fireball one, which would again give them the burn debuff, and then I can do more damage because I've got the burn debuff. So I can get it to work like that. But one of the spells which I've sort of been using the most is one. I think it's one of the earth ones where it increases your defense. So that massively helped in that first boss, just reducing the amount of damage which I was taking to the first boss. And there's also a spell which allows you to heal after each attack, which that was quite friendly because every time I hit, I was gaining like 3 or 4 HP, whereas one of your flasks tend to heal default 150 HP. So as long as you've got like a massive group of enemies and you start just spamming attacks, you can actually heal quite a lot. But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'd say there's one combat thing that's slightly different compared to Neo. You've got the martial arts. Have you been using those much? So martial arts are different for like each weapon you have. It's basically like a super move kind of thing. It works kind of like on a cooldown. Use those much?
I've been using because I recently got the Sword of Chaos, and it has two of them, or two of the martial arts. One of them is called Sword of Chaos, where you literally lift up the sword, slice it down, it does like a long beam, goes off and does it. But then there's another martial art with it, but I can't for the life of me figure out what it does. Because I kept thinking that particular martial art was the Sword of Chaos. So I was like getting in the swing of things. I was like, right, I'm going to end this move combo with the Sword of Chaos. But then my character just stands there, lifts the sword in the air and does something. And then I get hit. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? I keep using the wrong one. Because there's like so many interactions. Like you'll be doing your move combo. Then you're like, okay, I want to use a spell. So I have to press the right bumper and then B, Y, X, A. Or, okay, if I'm doing this, okay, I can then follow up and do a martial arts. So I have to hold the right down trigger. and then choose which one of the martial arts do I want to do, X or Y. There's like, oh, one of my allies might need to be boosted up like with a bit of morale boost. Okay, I'll hold the left bumper and then choose which one of those I want to do. But it's like, oh, my guardian beast is ready, so I need to press either Y and B at the same time or X and A at the same time. There's just a lot of button combinations going on at the same time as being a rhythm game in terms of dodge mechanics.
Yeah, it does throw an awful lot of stuff at you.
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics.
Yeah, so the game does feature like a sort of like what it calls like a spirit system. So basically, you've got like a sort of an orange bar and a blue bar, and it's kind of like a tug of war. I suppose the best way to describe it. It's like you do a lot of light attacks, and they fill up your blue bar. But the more you do that, the less damage they do. And if you stop doing it, it basically like cools down. And same for like the orange bar. So you kind of have to sort of juggle the two to sort of keep a balance, essentially. But
how have you been finding the morale mechanic as well?
I haven't really noticed a difference. I think that's because, there's a morale mechanic in it where essentially like the higher your morale is, like the less damage you take and the more damage you deal. And you can increase it by finding like little places to like raise your flag.
Marking flags and battle flags.
Yeah, it's kind of like the shrines in Neo, if like the shrines in Neo or like bonfires in Dark Souls gave you like a buff every time you found one per stage. But I can't say I've really noticed all that much difference.
I've noticed it with fortitude, because as you find the flags, your fortitude increases. I do notice like defense improvements as we find more of the flags, but the morale is like, you can get like 17 morale. If you then die, your morale can drop down to like 11. So then, but if you can reclaim your stuff by defeating said enemy who defeated you to reclaim your morale, or you can go around and just taking on other enemies and just steadily increase your morale that way as well. See, it's doing that to try and encourage exploration, but I'm the kind of person that does that anyway. So yeah, I can't say I've noticed anything. As soon as I see one, I make a beeline for it. I was doing the second level and I was like, where the fuck is this last flag? I was like looking everywhere. I was like, where the hell is this last flag? And so it was like literally in the one building I didn't look in. But on the topic of the flags, are you sort of also like, I was trying to think of the correct word for this, but, you know, sort of sensitized to the fact that we're so used to now fast travel in Neo and Dark Souls, where I thought, okay, maybe I can fast travel between each of the flags, but I can't, but there doesn't seem to be a mechanic for that.
No, there's not. There's ones that like basically going to like level select, but no, there isn't. But if you've of the levels I've played, at least, none of them are very long. You don't need a fast travel system. Yeah. Like, again, the lengths are pretty much on par with like the missions in Neo. Like none of them are like,
a lot shorter.
Not sure. The first mission seemed to take me a little while, but because I've like played it in like little bits and pieces, like I've literally like played it for like 20 minutes of time while I do other stuff. So maybe I just haven't noticed that much. So yeah, the first mission seemed to take me a little while, but after that, like the last like 3 missions or so, I've just barreled through, like done it in like a couple of minutes. Especially like the shorter ones. Shorter ones you do in like couple of minutes. In fact, one of them is just like literally just a boss fight, and that's it. Oh,
is this the like the side mission of the third place where you have to fight the monkey again?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So there's a little bit of rehashing going on, but I don't mind.
Also, can I just proudly say, you know, is it the fourth boss, the pig? I did that first try, and that's because my guardian beast took out half its HP in one move, and I was like, oh my god.
You know what? Annoyingly, I nearly took it out in the first try. It was one of those where it's like it just had a sliver of health left, but for one reason or another, I just couldn't find a window to attack. It just kept running me over. It's like, stop it! Come on, you got like 1 HP left.
Honestly, because it was such a big enemy, if you use the Deer Guardian Beast, because it's like a massive AoE, because it's so big, it just did so much damage.
I led like every attempt with that. I did it because it did so much in the first attempt. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do that everything. That seems like a really good start. And yeah, and then it just went sideways a couple of times. I did it on like my 4th, 5th attempt. It's certainly the boss I've had a harder time with. But again, from what I understand, that it all boils down to the parry.
Yes,
from what people have said online is like, yeah, you can attack with whatever you want, but honestly, you just have to manage the parry. Because that just like makes every boss fight laughably easy. Yes, you just wait for them to attack, parry, wait for them to attack, parry, and that's it. That's all you do. Do that like 3 or 4 times and you've won, not every time.
It's literally like Sekiro, because like when you did the parry of the boss in Sekiro, like you'd lower their stamina gauge to the point where you could do a critical attack. It's literally the same thing as what you're doing in Neo. Like it's literally just a combat-based rhythm game.
Yeah, but it's kind of like instant. Like you get like an instant backstab like every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I suppose it kind of feels unbalanced when you do that. Like parry seems like it does like way too much like posture damage than it
Yeah,
should.
it does a shitload.
I wouldn't be surprised if that gets patched a bit later down the line because
I
a lot of
think
people are saying that.
I think it might do, because especially like the critical parries, they take out a massive chunk of the enemy spirit gauge, where
Yeah, we're
the point where
talking
it just
like-
makes it laughable.
Yeah, we're talking to like a third to a half.
Yeah,
That
like
much.
a lot.
Probably more if you've scaled up your weapon.
But
I think that's probably why it's got like sort of like 5 out of 10s, because it's like, yeah, it's basically Neo again, but the combat's a bit broken.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like in the reviews I've been reading say that all the combat is too RNG and blah blah blah. I'm just like, well, I don't think it is RNG. So yeah, it's, you've got to time it. There's no RNG about it. As long as you time it, you've got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like a Souls game where you just got to master your timing, know when to parry and know when to run away and bonk his head. Yeah.
So where would you stick Wo Long in the Souls like tier list?
I think at the minute it's too early to tell, because I'm only on like the 5th main mission of God knows how many. So we'll see. Oddly enough, I still haven't finished Neo 2. I got
Neo
really
2
close
is at the top of my Souls like.
I got really close to the end, like about 2 or 3 missions off tops, and I just never got around to finishing it.
I love Neo 2.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on it as well. I probably got a bit burnt out after a while because it's quite a long game anyway. But yeah, that's Wo Long. I've been talking about that for a little while.
We've been talking about it for a long time.
We have. I'll see what
Whoa,
you do.
long time.
Oh, woe is me. Dan, talk about something. You've been quiet.
I have played Metroid Dread Remastered. And I swear I spoke about Metroid Prime before on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I am. Metroid Prime is one of my favourite games of all time, and initially I wasn't going to get the remastered, and then I knew I was going to cave and buy it, and I did. And I've only played half an hour, and that's all I need to really talk about it really on the podcast. Like, it is just essentially the same game. It's the controls really I want to talk about. And when I began the game, because I've only done like the first bit, basically like the tutorial bit. When I started it, I tried the different control schemes to see how they went, because I always remember Metroid Prime on the GameCube, and I never thought that those controls were bad. They were good, but the remastered, you can definitely tell with the original controls, that's a GameCube game. And after you've played so many FPS games since I played Metroid Prime, it definitely has aged. And so, like, one of the control schemes you can use is dual analog, and yeah, it's definitely a welcome quality of life improvement. It plays so much better. Not that the original is bad, but it's definitely aged, and there's a bit of charm to that old control scheme. But it's nice to play a bit more like the modern day FPS games on Metroid Prime. It looks fantastic. I think look the graphics of it. I'm like I forget that it's a GameCube game from like, was it like 2002, 2003? Is that
2003,
right?
I think.
Yeah, like 20 years old, and yeah, if it looks that great on Switch, it looks as if it's not from the GameCube era. It really doesn't look like it's from the GameCube era. Like, it's not.
I've got to ask. I've got to ask one thing.
Yeah.
It might just be me, but I was watching somebody else play Metroid, and they couldn't clarify because they've not played the original. But it's just a minor thing. But have they sped up the speed of the scanning?
I think they have.
Yeah, because when I was watching them, it's like that seems to be doing it a lot faster than what I remember. So there's an awful lot of scanning it.
I think
it seems to do it in like half the time at least. Like when they were doing it, it's like that.
Still not like that. It's still like not just like boom, there you go. It still takes a little time, but it definitely feels quicker.
Yeah, it certainly looked it. I didn't know if it's just my brain playing tricks on me when I was watching it.
I didn't clock it, but now you mention it, I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's one thing that may have had criticism for, like the original one, but I certainly do. Oh yeah,
that's what I think about.
You're right. I never really. I guess. I never cared. It was like, that's just part of the game. But no, I know what you mean. I completely get your criticism. It's like completely valid. I think I was a kid. I was like, oh, I love it. I don't care. So I may have beaten the first boss without taking a hit. It's just that easy. But no, I'll be enjoying it. I don't really need to talk about it anymore on this podcast. Well, I'll probably talk about it at the end of the year, but I don't I played half an hour. That's good enough for me to talk about it on this podcast. I'll be very much enjoying rediscovering, replaying one of my favorite games. I already have the music in my head, and I can't wait to go through those environments again and replay it.
Well, slightly tenuous link. On the last episode, we mentioned Metroid Prime and Hi-Fi Rush shadow dropping in like the same time. So might as well just say, since the last episode, I have beaten Hi-Fi Rush, and honestly, if it wasn't for Resident Evil 4 coming out, which I've pre-ordered, I'm excited for that. That might be my game of the year. I only had a few missions left, which I did like pretty much after we finished recording, and the last 3 missions in particular, absolutely spectacular, like hit for hit for hit. I've even found a new song I really like IRL that was part of the soundtrack. And yeah, the last boss was a lot of fun and put up a fight as well. It was actually challenging, but the music that goes along with it, that matches like the gameplay as well. Yeah, stunning. Honestly, I enjoyed it so much. I had a massive grin on my face when I was playing it. Yeah, it was just a really good, really, really good time. And I highly recommended it, but I more highly recommend it this time. No, I've actually finished it. There is some like post-game stuff to do as well. There's like some sort of side missions, like you can revisit levels you've played, but they're like hidden doors and all the collectibles and that you can find. You get more unlocks. So there's plenty to do like post-game, which I have not done yet, but I will definitely do. I enjoyed it that much when I get round to it. But there's a lot of stuff to be playing. I've got a whole smorgasbord of stuff, so it's great. Shall I talk a bit more?
Yeah. It's up to you. Yeah, can do.
Yeah, I just don't want anyone getting bored when I'm rabbiting away. But yeah, newer games. I've also played Atomic Heart as well.
All I know about Atomic Heart is 1, it's made by Russians, and 2, the robot women, and that's all I know.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely robot women in it. I can say that. But there's also robot men as well, and robots. So it's all balanced out nicely. So yeah, it's made by Focus Interactive, as you may know as the people behind The Surge and Vampire, which I like Focus Interactive. They make some really good games. I like a majority of everything they've put out, but everything they put out is slightly janky. I think that adds to the charm. Everything's slightly broken. And boy, howdy, you can tell this was made by Focus Interactive. So in Atomic Heart, you play as like a sort of hardened soldier. He's got like a talking glove. Just roll with it. He's like a robotic and does a lot of wild and crazy shit. Is essentially your answer for why you can do the things you can do. But I'm surprised to find this game actually plays a lot more like BioShock than I was expecting.
I've heard that.
Yeah. Just looking at when I initially seen the gameplay trailer and then I seen like Mick Gordon did the music, I thought, oh, is this going to be like Wolfenstein? And no is the answer. No, it does take a very long time to get going though. Like the intro stuff, like to actually like get free reign that isn't tutorial stuff, genuinely took about 45 minutes to an hour to do. It's because it's quite railroaded. You know, like a bit like the beginning of BioShock Infinite, I suppose is the closest I can do, where you sort of like have a tour around the city. Oh, look, this big building, isn't it nice? I'm sure nothing bad will happen here. Oh, look, all these cool and colourful robots that totally won't want to murder you in a few hours' time. Aren't they fun? Yeah, you do all that. Right. And once you finally get into the meat of the game, how else to describe it apart from BioShock? You go around, you loot containers, you've got your set weapons which you can upgrade. What I do find weird is, but also neat in a weird way, the game's got kind of like Resident Evil save rooms. The game does save like automatically, but it's like few and far between. But there are manual save points which you're encouraged to use. But each room is like a sort of little safe haven, and you've got like sort of like crafting bench robot thing, which has a voice and is very sexual for some reason, and I don't know why, but it's a bit odd. You just have to play it. I'm not going to try and imitate it. Jesus. Yeah, it's a strange bit, but yeah, BioShock is really the closest comparison I can make. You go around, enemies do hit hard. I'm playing on the regular difficulty, and you have health kits, which are exactly the same as medikits. BioShock. Yeah, that's. I mean, not to sound like a scratch record, but it just plays like BioShock.
I saw things just saying it's basically Russian Bioshock. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, if you haven't played Bioshock, you're probably just very confused now. But who hasn't played Bioshock? Let's be honest.
Me.
I was about to say I know Brandon hasn't.
Get on it, Brandon. Good shit. But yeah, I was saying, like, you can tell it's like a photo interactive game because I've noticed sometimes when they kill enemies or enemies are like in a state of like, you know, getting up or walking into a room, they have a tendency to jiggle and vibrate around a lot. I've noticed one I had was trying to stand up. There was like a sort of shelving unit above it. It's kind of kept swapping between the two on like the same frame of animation, and it was a wonder to behold. And it was trying to be violent as well, which just confused the fuck out of me. I'll be honest. It's like, what are you doing? Are you trying to stand up because you seem to be like in a frame of animation where you're sort of lying in the floor trying to get up, but then in a standing animation on top of a shelf and flicking between the two quite a lot. Yeah, that was definitely the. Oh yeah, this was made by Focus Interactive, wasn't it? I'd say I'm not like massively into the game. I'd say about 3 hours in. So I've got a past the tutorial. I've got a few weapons under my belt. I've got like the mechanics of the game down. And yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. But it does seem like a slow burn at the minute. It seems like everything's taking quite a while to actually kick in. Unlike like the original BioShock where it's pretty fast paced. Like, oh, here's your setup. Oh no, plane crash. Oh no, drowning. Oh look, lighthouse. Oh no, bathysphere. Oh no, we're flooding. There's a lot going on in like that first half hour.
Yeah, that's right. Who do you play as?
So your main. I'm still trying to work that out for myself.
Oh, okay.
Not done like a massive amount of backstory. Ultimately, I don't think it's all that important. It's just like you're top soldier man. Go see top Russian scientist man. Oh no, robot invasion.
Basically, all I wanted to know was, are you a human or are you a robot?
You are human, but you've got a glove that talks to you. That's a robot.
Right. Okay.
Charles. So yeah.
It's mainly just that. Just because all I see are the robotic stuff. So I was like, oh, do you play as a robot or do you play as a human? Yeah, okay, fair enough.
No. You shoot a lot of robots.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
There is one mechanic I do really like though, and it's when it comes to searching rooms. You know, normally like let's pick a game at random. Oh, I don't know, BioShock, where you go into a room and you have to like go up to like every container and like press A, search it, that kind of thing. This one you can just use your glove. You just hold down the left trigger, and anything that your sort of cursor sort of highlights, you automatically search it, and you can just hold it down, and you'll just go through like every item in the room and just loot the whole lot, so long as you're looking at it, and it just goes straight into your inventory. And if you're carrying too much, it goes straight to your workbench, so you don't miss out on anything.
That's good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It makes searching things a little bit cathartic. It's like, oh, look at all these shelves. I'm just going to hold down the L button, just grab everything in one go. Very nice, and it makes nice little clinking sounds like bits of metal go into your pocket. It's quite nice. It's certainly the best part of the game. It's quite I don't know, cathartic, I guess. Pretty nice. For now, that's Atomic Hearts. I'm having fun with it. It's got a little bit of bugs and glitches, but as I say, Focus Interactive, so that's to be expected. Now I just need to see how it pans out, whether I get bored with it or whether it goes stupidly off the rails, or who knows. We shall soon see. Let me think. Oh, very quickly, I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West as well, because that came out for free on the old PlayStation Plus, not Game Pass. I haven't played this one for as long though. I've probably put like an hour and a half into it. I've basically just got past the tutorial, and so far it seems to play absolutely identical to the first one, like literally like no different. It seems to be exactly the same.
As I said a year ago, the one thing that the developers of both Horizon games know what to do is release it when there's another open world game about either that's going to release that year and they're in close proximity that they know is going to overshadow their own game. Because they did it with the first game, because Breath of the Wild exists, and they did it with the second game, because Elden Ring. Like,
it's a shame.
I feel bad, but it's at the same time, I played Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring, and I'm like, I have a feeling that both of these are going to be better. The experience I've had with both of these are going to be way better than when I finally play Zero Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I hear both Horizon games are good. I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's because of their releases. I'm like, I don't know if I could be asked.
You know, I kind of don't blame you. I liked the first game, fine, but it did seem kind of par the course for an open world game. It's kind of, you already know what you're going to get when you go into it. I mean, it's not made by Ubisoft, but it kind of feels like it.
Like I something
It's,
about the second
it's like the
game.
better thing, though.
And I was like, oh, this occurs, and you get like, there's one mechanic you get, and it was just like, yeah, you get it way too late, and I was just like, really? From what I read of what that mechanic is, I'm like, I can't believe you meant to get that really late in the game. That seems like a mechanic you should get really early. And then you have something like Elden Ring where it's like, oh, you found 5 sites of grace. Here's a horse that you can ride on. There you go. Explore. It's like, oh, great, cool. Yep, do that.
Well, since we mentioned Elden Ring, very quickly, teaser for the new DLC is coming out. Yeah. Shadow of the Erd Tree, it's called.
See, I thought the first DLC was going to be something about the Badlands and more about Horaloo's backing, but then they came out the Shadow of the Erd Tree, so I'm just like, hang on a minute, what's this got to do with the Badlands?
I never heard anything about the Badlands. This is new information to me.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm not sure if it's just a Mandela effect, but I was dead certain that the first bit of DLC coming up for Elden Ring was something to do about the Badlands.
I just heard nothing, and then until last week.
Yeah, same. I think it's something. I don't think it's something we can really talk about all that much because there's literally like no information.
Yeah, literally nothing. Just
we got a name and that's it. And it's Miyazaki, so we can speculate over like because I think you'll find like with all the Dark Souls DLC, we think we're going to get something, and then we don't get that at all.
It was just a lie.
Like, every single one, people have gone, "Oh, we're going to get this." It's like, nope, you're going to get a Slave Knight Gale. Who the fuck's Slave Knight Gale? He's that guy. Here we go. So yeah, that's all the newest stuff I've been doing. Again, it's kind of been a weird one because I've not really sat down and like played anything all that much, apart from stuff we'll get into in a bit later. But I've just like had a go on this and that because there's just been a lot come out at the same time. Yeah, I'll go from like struggling with one games to play to I have all of the games now.
Well, Brandon and I went to see a film last week. Well, kind of. It was a film, but kind of isn't a film.
It was a premiere.
Yeah, we went to see the early premiere of the next season of Demon Slayer in the cinema, where they showed the final 2 episodes of season 2 with the first an extended. Well, I don't know if it's extended or the first episode is going to be about 40 minutes long of season 3, and so we both Brandon and I already know how we've already chatted how we feel about it, but I enjoyed it. It was cool seeing the whole thing on the big screen.
Oh, absolutely.
Like seeing the final fight of season 2 on the big screen. Obviously, it wouldn't have it in its entirety. It was like the final sections of it, but it was still really good seeing it on the big screen. And the first episode of season 3, which starts, I think it's 9th of April. So we've seen it early. It was a nice. Seems like it's going to be a nice change of pace. Like they've switched the characters round to some extent. So
yeah, we get to see another 2 or 3 Hashiras in action rather than what we've had with Mugen Train, where we just had the flame Hashira, Rengoku, and then the sound Hashira. But now we're going to go for the Love Hashira and the Mist Hashira.
I forget you've read it.
Yes, I have read it. But although the unfortunate thing is, I've got the mangas up to volume 20, but I'm missing volume 18. And it's the only one that every time I go to Forbidden Planet, for some fucking reason, it's always volume 18 which is missing.
Just order it off Amazon, man.
I know, but I don't want to bite the bullet because I like Forbidden Planet's 3 for 2 offer.
Well, sometimes you got to bite the bullet. I'm still missing 2 volumes of Chainsaw Man. Although I
still want to start that.
Although I think someone's buying one of them for me soon. Well, I say I'm missing 2. Technically, I'm missing 4, but the last 12 and 13 aren't out yet in the UK, I don't think. Anyway, that's...
Before we go into a tangent, shall we just nip the bud in our overbearing gripe with the premiere?
Yeah, it was... This kind of sounds stupid, but it was basically... said it was to be 3 episodes, and it felt like watching 3 episodes.
It literally was, because we had 3 sets of cuts, 3 sets of credits, which we had to sit for. Probably 4, considering the absolute ending credits as well. We had maybe a couple openings to sit through as well. And I was like, it just broke apart, because every time you had like the credits and the new opening, you would then have to watch like the last minute of the previous episode, and it just sort of broke the flow a little bit.
Yeah, the flow wasn't the best. But then, other than that, it was pretty good. I think if they edited the whole thing far better in between the episodes, it would have been a better experience.
Yeah, it
But
was a
like,
lazy oversight.
yeah, like, but then at the same time, I like what they did at the beginning, where they basically did a quick recap of the series so far.
Yeah, that was a recap done right. I mean, they did miss a few bits out of the
Yeah,
recap, but they showed the majority of what you need to make sense of what's happening.
but they had each of the three opening songs, and they did each section of the story so far to each song, and it was really cool. And then the new opening song
Banger.
they played at the end, and it was great, done by
Man with a mission.
Man with a Mission, who have done quite a few songs for anime, and they're just their actual music in general was really good because I've listened to their whole discography. They played Download Festival a few times, although I never seen them at Download.
I think they were playing on the same day or roughly the same period where Cold Rain was playing.
Yeah,
Obviously, everyone went to go see. I think it
Yeah.
was that same download when Cold Rain was playing, but
Yeah.
obviously no one could hear Cold Rain because it was a tiny fucking tent and the sound quality was awful.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, overall, the Demon Slayer premiere was really good. It's just unfortunate that because of editing oversights and they couldn't be bothered to take out the credits and the opening sequences, broke the flow. But it was just a nice experience apart from the people sitting around us.
The people who sat next to me I've not been in a cinema with people that annoy me as much as they did. It's been a while, and they were on their phones. They were speaking like during the credits. To be fair, the whole cinema were really bad at talking during the credits.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole cinema was like, I know, yeah, okay, it's meant to be episodes, but the whole cinema was pretty bad at talking during the credits. I don't know. I'm just like, if you're in the cinema when you're watching something, just be quiet. That's
Yeah.
And
then I had the couple next to me basically on the same chair because they're just constantly touching each other.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, they were practically just flirting and pretty certain because I had one of them was just literally sat next to me, but she was like completely leaned over into her partner's chair, and I was like, "Come on, now's not the time. Like, come on, Demon Slayer's coming on. Like, I don't want to be distracted by this. I want to watch Demon Slayer, not the sound of you two just making out while watching it." Although the bit which I found funny is, when we saw the infamous the hot tub bit,
Yes.
and then you could just hear everyone in the cinema going, "Yes!"
Yes.
Everyone just cheered at a bit of etchiness. I was like, yes, the degeneracy of Leicester. I love it.
I may have had a smile on my face.
I think everyone did. Even it was just like a total just unanimous. The whole room in cinema going, yeah, woo! I found that so funny.
No, it was fun. It was a fun evening. We went pretty early, so we still had most of our evening to relax as well. So it was quite nice. I had
my
rush
hand just
from
randomly.
work,
Yeah,
but it was good.
had my hand randomly burst open with blood at the start of it as well.
you going, oh, this random weird stuff happened to me. It started, and Brandon goes, my hand's bleeding. I'm like, I don't know what to say to that.
It was just blood just coming down my left hand. I was like, oh, because my hands suffer real bad in the cold, and then they literally, I think, just the temperature difference, it just literally just made my knuckles just burst open. I was like, oh, so I was just there drinking my Coke. I was like, oh, why are my hands wet? I was like, oh, I'm bleeding.
Wow.
So shall we go on to what you are basically dying to tell everyone what you've been up to?
Well, no, what about Chris and I saw Ant-Man 3? Well, Chris finally saw Ant-Man 3.
Make it sound like it's been forever, but it's only been out for like a week.
No, it's not. It's because the last episode I said, oh, I've watched it, but I didn't say anything, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, then I'll watch it like a couple of days later.
Yeah. I know, that's why I was like, I'm not going to talk about it because you're going to watch it like literally in a few days. So there's no point me saying anything until you've watched it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, here's what I want to know, and I think I know the answer already. But this film is getting an absolute battering, like review-wise. What I want to know is, and I want a genuine complaint, like a proper one. Because every time I like to see what like their official complaints are, the only thing it seems to bounce back at me is like too much CGI and it's all Marvel being woke. There's like the only actual concrete things I can find. Is like because I actually quite like this movie, and so did my mate, and I just want to know why people seem to hate this film as opposed to like all the other ones.
I think it's just really, really weird. In like, yeah, okay, they went down to the quantum realm. but it's just very weird in like so many areas. I enjoyed it, but I also have a lot of problems with it. But I did like enjoy it. I really like Kang the Conqueror. But when I think like as a trilogy of like Ant-Man films, this is my least favorite.
I think I'll need a rewatch before I make that sort of comparison, like whether it's my least favorite or not. But I thought there was I watched it in like full big screen 3D, and I thought it looked really good. And so did my mate. We really enjoyed it. As for like being weird, I kind of dug it. I mean, there's some comparisons made to like how it's a bit like Star Wars because it's got so many different like creatures and all kind of alien life and whatnot going on. But I thought that was quite cool.
It feels more like Flash Gordon to me than Star Wars because it's a bit more fish out of water,
like sort of like Journey to the Center of the Earth, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
Than like Star Wars. But I get that. I know exactly what you mean with Star Wars, but it feels more like Flash Gordon, where it's like, oh, what is this world? And then kind of like, oh, a bit out of place, and then it's like, oh, there's someone who wants to conquer it, and then yeah, let's fight him with the inhabitants at the end. Yeah.
And I've seen like some people say like, oh, when it gets to the climax, it's like, oh, we fight to defend all these like aliens and whatnot, but you've not really gotten to know any of them all that much, so why should you care? And I suppose that's a valid complaint. But this film's also got quite a lot packed into its runtime, which is like just over 2 hours, I think.
I think so, or might be under. I'm not sure. It's not massively long.
It didn't feel long anyway. It just sort of flew by.
I thought it was over 2 hours. Like I thought it was like 2 hours 20, but it's not. It's around 2 hours. I think it's under. I don't know. I'm not going to check.
Either way, it packs a lot in its runtime, and obviously I never got bored. But I thought everyone's acting was perfectly fine. Paul Rudd's as likable as ever, because come on, it's Paul Rudd.
Can't do it. Can't do no wrong.
Yeah, thank you, Spider-Man. That line was in the trailer, but I've only seen the trailer once, and it was that long ago I completely forgot about it, and that line caught me off guard, and I laughed so hard in the cinema. I went mine.
It's great. It's the fact that the guy also looks like Stan Lee a bit. I don't know if that's intentional. The guy who says it.
Actually, he looks like, from what I remember, he's like Asian descent. He actually reminded me more of the guy who, like Mr. Miyagi. No, not him. The actor in Gremlins who sells in the Mogwai.
Oh, it's been so long since.
And he's in Big Trouble in Little China as well.
I don't know.
That Asian actor kind of reminded me of him. Anyway, let's get off topic.
Yeah.
Admittedly, there was one reveal in the film that I didn't see coming, probably because I wasn't looking for it. You might know what I'm about. There's a certain character reveal, like this person turns out to be this person who I didn't see coming. But
I literally was thinking of a different character, and then I know which character you mean now. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but how did you feel about that?
I was like, oh, it was interesting that it was that character. I think that the way they were like some of their lines in the film, I was a bit like, I think like for me this film just has a massive tonal shit. Like it's tonally all over the place, and that character is a prime example of the tone being all over the place because they're saying one thing and then in the next scene it's just like completely different. And I'm like, what is going on here?
I think that may just be an underlying problem with some of the Marvel films overall, though. Like they don't know whether to like be silly or serious. I'm not going to single out Ant-Man for that, but yeah, I can't see what you mean.
Like I think it's the fact you had like Kang who felt so serious. Then you had this character who just was so weird and kind of trying to be serious, but but also being played for laughs, and it was just the two characters didn't really mold together.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I'm gonna have to rewatch it again.
Like,
nothing like sort of stood out to me as like, oh wow, that was incredibly dumb. Or,
like
I'm like, cringy line.
I did enjoy my time, but and I think Kang definitely sets the scene for what is to come, and I'm looking forward to more Kang because John Major as Kang in that film was fantastic. Like,
Oh yeah, it was good.
he stole near enough every scene.
That's say. Well, yeah, honestly, it was really good. Nobody turned in a bad performance in this. So yeah,
well, I think some of the narrative or character. I think the only character I think who doesn't make any sense now that this film exists is Janet Van Dyne. Wait. Yeah, not Dyke. Van Dyne. Because now that this film exists, her character has essentially been retconned, and basically the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp now makes no sense, and why the start of Endgame now makes no sense.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it
Because Janet doesn't want to go back to the quantum verse, and at the end of in the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, they go to the quantum realm, and then so like if she didn't want to go to the quantum realm in Ant-Man 3, why did they go to the quantum realm in Ant-Man and the Wasp at the end?
Oh yeah, they do, don't they? In the back
It
of the
makes
mind.
no sense.
Well, try not to think about it too much.
I'm just like, well, whatever.
Trying to put logic into a
I
marvelous.
know. It's like
I don't know.
you have a creature that has no holes that looks like jelly in this film. There is no logic.
Yeah.
I'm about to say an alien. He's not an alien at all. Kind of looks like one though.
I mean, honestly, I'm still in the camp where couldn't most of this be resolved by just Ant-Man turning giant right at the start and staying like that?
I don't know.
Pretty sure I could have solved most of the issues.
No idea.
Anyway, well, overall, I did enjoy the film. I don't agree with like everyone that's like panning it. It's like, okay, it's not the best one, but it's still a fun ride.
Oh,
Got
yeah.
plenty going on.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be bored. I don't know, switch your brain off. Just have fun.
Well, did we want to? Because I've watched and gone through a lot of Star Wars stuff, so I don't want to drag on too much because I know. So I have finally finished Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Love that game. Really, I'll be honest. I kind of brute forced myself through near enough the whole game until the final boss, where I had to actually learn the final boss's movements.
Yeah, she's a bit of a tough cookie. And I played it. I immediately put it on the hardest difficulty because it's like, oh, you need to be good at Dark Souls. It's like, me, I'm good at Dark Souls. I'm going to put it on the hard one. And to be honest, I was fine for like the entire game up until the last boss.
Yeah.
Then I sort of went, I kind of wish I didn't put it on hard mode. I still did it because I was like too stubborn and I was having a good time.
Yeah,
But,
I was a bit like,
it took a few attempts.
I was like, should I lower the difficulty? And then I was like, no, Daniel, you're going to do this. You're going to beat it on the difficulty you picked. And I did, and I was happy. And then I got to see the cool cutscene at the end. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then I was like, I'm going to have to get a next-gen console to play Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, which I'm looking forward to, even if it has got EA attached to it.
Well,
As you EA.
But really enjoyed Fallen Order. Will play Jedi Survivor when I can, when it's out and when I can. What I don't think I've actually mentioned this on the podcast, but I'm currently going through the entirety of Star Wars from beginning in chronological order, from beginning to end. And I've been I started it in December. Last week of December, and on the weekend I've just watched Revenge of the Sith, finishing the massive Clone Wars, as well as watching Tales from the Jedi, which came out late last year, I think. So, Tales from the Jedi, 6 episodes, good. Basically just 6 extra Clone War episodes. That is essentially what they are. And Clone Wars, if you've ever been a fan of the prequels, Clone Wars is a must-watch. It makes Revenge of the Sith so much better. It makes the world of the Clone War, not of the Clone Wars, of the prequels better. It's just great. It brings back like Darth Maul. It sets up Mandalorian, Mandalorian and Mandalore. It even has characters from the Mandalorian in. The Mandalorian has characters from the Clone Wars. So I really enjoyed Clone Wars. What I like, the end was really cool because I watched Revenge of the Sith and the end of the Clone Wars kind of together. So it has like Order 66 occurring at the end of the Clone Wars, which is really really cool and fun. I recommend watching the Clone Wars. It's animated or cartoon, but it's good, and definitely as you get towards definitely the final season, you can tell the animation ramps up. It definitely looks so much better than it starts in season 1, and that same animation is in Tales from the Jedi, which, like I said, is just 6 extra episodes of the Clone Wars. But yeah, so I'm so far I've been enjoying my massive Star Wars watch. But also the new thing that dropped as of time recording last week, and episode 2 will be this week, is The Mandalorian season 3.
Indeed. So the first episode, as Dan says, has just come out and we've seen it. Honestly, I haven't got an awful lot to say. I think you've got just the same. Like,
Literally.
it's basically it's literally just setting up what's going to happen over the next couple of episodes. Like, it's got a couple of pirates in it, which I will probably might be the main antagonist for the series. We'll see. Yeah, it's literally like, all right, well, season 2 is done. I suppose you need a new quest. Go here. Right, that'll do. Episode 2, please.
Yeah, I don't. It was fine. It was good. Yeah, I don't really have not really a lot to say. I kind of just want more so I can talk about more. My only thing to say about it, which I think not many people have noticed, and if you don't have subtitles, you wouldn't have noticed, because I've watched the Clone Wars. There is a certain Mandalorian character, and in the premiere of season 3 of The Mandalorian, at the beginning section, you know, the big action set piece at the beginning, Chris, on the subtitles, in that set piece, a certain character makes a noise, or says something, and it name drops that character. Now,
really?
This character is a descendant of a certain Mandalorian character that is in the Clone Wars, and I was like, oh, so I wonder if they're going to do anything with that. They're probably not. It might just be an Easter egg, and that might be all it is. But I was like, oh. But if you've not watched Clone Wars, and if you don't have subtitles, it would mean absolutely nothing. So it means nothing to you, Chris, but I noticed it, and it was interesting that they've name dropped a certain thing. But as I said, I think for the majority it might be absolutely nothing. I might be fixating on it for no reason, and I probably am, but I don't know. If what this season might be about, I think there might be more to it, but I don't know. It might literally be nothing.
Well, I have not seen the Clone Wars at all, so
just get, I guess, what the context, the character it kind of alluding to is the character Bo-Katan served under before they get killed during the Clone Wars. So
okay,
it's basically kind of her mentor, kind of like just the leader she was following during the Clone Wars. So it's linked to him. So it's clearly his descendant or of that clan. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. But it might literally be nothing. Unless until the end of the season, I have no idea. As I said, might literally be fixated on literally nothing.
I did notice they had the one line near the end of the episode, which explains why Cara Dune isn't in the series anymore.
Yeah. Oh.
Which is pretty much what I expected. I want to give it like as little attention as possible. Yeah, she fucked off.
Yeah.
The end. You must go now. Her panic needs her.
I think now I've watched Clone Wars, I have a lot better appreciation to Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan's a really, really cool character and more interesting than I ever realised. And how big of a connection she has to the politics of Mandalore. More than just the fact that, you know, she's like sitting on a throne in episode 1 of season 3, but like there is like more to her than I even realised of the leadership and politics of Mandalore. Yeah, she's a great character in Clone Wars, and I know she appears in Rebels as well. So I still got more screen time with her during my long Star Wars watch. It's weird that I know I've nearly finished like the first third of Star Wars, and I'm like now coming into like I'm slowly gaining towards the original trilogy. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to rewatch Rogue One so much.
You could have saved some time there, don't you? If you had the foresight to have done this Star Wars marathon in the 1970s, you'd be done by now.
I know. I'm like, getting towards that original trilogy, and then I'll finish like Mandalorian season 3, and then I'm like, oh no, now I've got the sequel trilogy. Oh, please help me.
Dun dun dun. Oh dear.
Yes, I will be rewatching all of them. I'm kind of not looking forward to that.
I don't like the prequel trilogy. It's coarse, it's rough, and their memes are everywhere.
I'm not a fan of the sequel trilogy at all. Except I liked Force Awakens, and then.
The less said about episode 9, the better. We just won't acknowledge that. So ignore that sentence.
I just
ignore it as much as Mandalorian ignores Cara Dune in season 3.
Yep.
Ooh, burn.
Oh no.
Anywho, shall we get on to our main topic, lads, unless there's anything else you want to discuss?
Brandon, are you
I
alive?
have nothing else because I have barely done anything apart from play a while long, go to the cinema. I've
Play with Greystones.
Yeah, play with the occult.
What did you just call me?
An old coot.
That's better. All right. So we hastily banged together a theme for this. Very hastily, as in the last 30 seconds. So yeah, because this one's a bit all over the place, some of you have been playing some other stuff. I thought, hey, why don't we talk about some games that we started absolutely ages ago, never finished, but thought, you know what, I'm going to give it another go. And, well, basically had to start again from scratch because you can't remember what the hell you were doing, what you were doing, and all that good stuff. So I've actually done a couple myself. So I don't know, shall we take this in turns, or how do you want to do it?
There's one which has immediately come to my mind, and I remember when I first got my PlayStation 2, is when I first got Grand Theft Auto 3, and I like to show you just how bad it was at Grand Theft Auto 3 back in the days. Is I didn't even realize there were 3 islands. It wasn't until I was playing it last year that I was like, hang on a minute, I can cross that bridge. And then, so when did Grand Theft Auto 3 come out? Like early 2000s?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
That's probably how long it's been and taken me for me to get halfway through the game. So I'd probably presumptively say that Grand Theft Auto 3 is in my top 5 of games which has just taken me the longest to play, purely because I can't be asked and I keep getting sidetracked.
Happens a lot, doesn't it? I mean, I've got so many games that I stopped playing for one reason or another. Not because they were bad. No, if they said they're bad, I just won't go back to them. Period. But there's like a couple on my bucket list. So I'm like, yeah, I started this and I really, really need to finish it. I only started them like 23 years ago. I'm like, really must get back to them. I mean, I'm just looking at my shelf now, like some of the GameCube ones. Like, good example of one I need to finish. Okami. You ever play that one?
No, it's on my playlist.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, I started playing it. It is good. It's basically like an old school Zelda game, but you play as a dog, essentially. There's a bit more to it than that. Yeah, dog who likes to paint. What's not to like? But I just never finished it for some reason or another. I got quite far in. If I was to compare it to, I don't know, a 3D Zelda game, because that's basically the closest comparison you can make. It was like getting to like the Shadow Temple and just stopping there. Yeah, quite a way in. I'm going to have to replay that at some point. But
do on stream.
Since maybe. I do have the PS2 set up now, so maybe. We shall see. Time will tell. Again, there's so many games I want to play there. I've got so many. So, Christ, I don't know where to start. I've had a 2-week break, and the entire time I've had a break, I'm thinking, I could have done a couple of games in that time. Damn it. Anyhow, so since we were talking about Nintendo Direct, I tried to like go through some of the old games I used to play, like most notably like the N64 games. And one of them on there, I had still yet to finish. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to knuckle down. I'm going to finish this one there. And that game is Paper Mario. Have you ever played the Paper Mario games?
No, I haven't. A lot of the offshoot Mario games, I've just never been asked to play.
I've never played any of the Paper Mario, but all I hear is they are incredible, especially the GameCube one, the 1,000-Year Door. I hear that is incredible, and a game that I hear that probably Nintendo will never make something quite like that again. Probably
not. No, the tone's all over the place in that one. I think there's some bits in it that are just straight out weird for a Nintendo game. I'll put it this way: the first town you rolled up to, like a sort of port town, like literally like the first screen, has gallows in the middle of it. That That's a bit out there. It's like, welcome to the happy world of Mario, where we acknowledge that we hang people. Yay, fun for all the family. Yeah, the 1,000-Year Door is like one of those games that's on GameCube that's very expensive. You try and get a hold of it, and I own it, so hooray for me. It's one of my prouder pieces in my collection, that is. So anyway, Paper Mario. So they are very strange RPGs, but not to say they're bad. The whole game takes place on a sort of 3D plane, but obviously you will sort of operate on a sort of 2D axis. Yeah, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. Let me talk about the combat system. The combat system is turn-based. It's got like active commands. So if you like time your button presses when you go to attack, you do like extra damage, take extra turns, yada yada. Same when enemies attack, you can sort of parry it. See, it's doing a real long thing. You see, Paper Mario do parries first. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Paper Mario games as RPGs go. It's got like a level up system, so for like every 100 experience points you gain a level. Enemies only give out like 2 free experience, but the higher your level is, the less they give until they start dropping nothing. But the game does have a level cap as well, so you'll never be like overly powerful. It's like every enemy that you'll face you're pretty much always at the right level to face, because the game only has 3 stats. You can level up your health, you can level up your magic points, and you can level up your badge points. Badges are used for a wide variety of things that basically equate to what moves you can use, how much health you can have. Like they give you like +5 health, all sorts of stuff, or like passive buffs as well. And that's the same in the 1,000-Year Door as well. They've got the same system. Again, you can cut that out to 30, I believe. And badges, I think the highest badge cost is like 7. So even by end game, you're not going to have that many. I do think it's a bit flawed though, because some of the things you can have are just objectively better than other things. Like, you can have like this super move, or you can have this super move. Like one for example was like, this super move, if you press the A button at the right time, you do like more damage when you jump on someone. Or you can have this one where you can just keep pressing the button, and if you keep timing it right, you just keep doing more and more damage until you miss. It's like, that one's just objectively better, so why the hell would I have the other one? Honestly, gameplay wise and story wise, for the first Paper Mario, it plays it really safe. There's not much more to the story, and Bowser's just kidnapped Peach. Isn't he a shit? Go kick his teeth in. That's pretty much it. There's like some side fluff of go save like the 7 stars, and like I say like generic RPG stuff, but it's got to pad it out somehow. And it's an excuse to like visit everywhere in the world, like the desert area, the ice level, the field area. You know the drill. It's not doesn't exactly push the boat out, but again, it's the first RPG and it's like 22 years old now, so we'll give it a pass.
Wait, do you say it was the first RPG?
It's the first Paper Mario RPG.
Oh, I was about to say, no, it's not the first Mario RPG.
No, there's one on the SNES.
Yeah, because I got that.
Which is the next one I'm getting around to.
Yeah, I need to.
That's on the backlog as well.
I am the same. I need to actually finish that myself.
I got all the way to the last boss in that and I never finished it.
Oh.
I don't know why. What was it?
Sorry,
yeah, so
train of thought. Sorry.
So that's all right. It's all right. The game has a train in it as well, so
there you go.
There you go, choo-choo, etc. This game does have had side quests, but they don't there's no log as such. It's just it's down to you to pay attention to what you're doing, talk to all your NPCs, and they'll say, why don't you try going here? If you do that, it's an awful lot of backtracking to the point of it's obnoxious. There's one character who always wants you to do side quests for him, but it's through the entire game, and I'm not kidding, you must do about 40 side quests with this guy, which won't be so bad, but there's no real quick way to go past. There is a sort of fast travel system as such, but it works in the same way as you'd expect from a Mario game. It's like warp pipes, but that means having to backtrack to the warp pipe to go to another place, to go through another warp pipe to get to where you want to go. So it does get very time consuming. If you cut all that out and just stick to the main story, it'll be a lot better. And having now done all that and done all this side stuff, I kind of wish I didn't, because it didn't seem worth it in the end. Your main rewards are these things called star pieces, and you can trade them in to get badges, of which there are loads of badges you can get. But again, it boils down to some of them are just objectively better than others. So you are best off saving up as many as you can to get the best badge. It's right at the end, which flat out just increases your damage, and then whatever, you can get whatever you want. So by the end, by the time I got that, I've got 100. It costs 29, and I had 100 star pieces. It's I've got 70. I don't even know what the hell to spend it on, because I'm never going to use any of these. So I feel like I kind of wasted my time a bit. All in all, though, it was a good game, and I do recommend it. But if you do play it, I'd say just stick to the main story and ignore a lot of the side stuff. Although there are a few bits that do require you to backtrack during the main storyline that you may miss. So, yeah, it's a good game. I'm glad to have finally crossed it off my list. Finally. And I don't have to play it again. Because initially I played it when it first came out, but I didn't own it. I borrowed it. So I think that's why I stopped playing it. But then I bought it again on the Wii store, like about 12 years ago, and I still didn't finish it on that either. So it's like my third attempt to get it done. So, and speaking of third attempts, I also finally finished Metroid Dread on my third attempt.
How did that go?
Oh, I finished it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, how was your experience?
Okay. I rather enjoyed it. Going back to like when it first came out and we spoke about it on the podcast, I was enjoying it then. And I started like my own playthrough. I got so far, and then I started streaming it on another playthrough. So I kind of had like two playthroughs going simultaneously, and I didn't finish either of them because I think I just sort of burnt myself out by doing like two at the same time. And I just didn't get around to it, or then something else came along. But then this week, because I'd given myself a bit of time off streaming, I went through the games. I was like, right, what games haven't I finished? Which ones are niggling away at the back of my head going, you still haven't played this yet? Like, you paid like top whack for this and you still haven't finished it. I was like, right, Metroid Dread, where is it? This time I'm going to sit down and bit the crap out of it. And I did. I didn't go for 100% completion. I felt like I could have done, but I also wanted to get Paper Mario done as well. So I didn't go for 100%. And I got a large majority of it. I thought I got like most of the stuff in it because I had like nearly all the health tanks. And then it told me I only got like 60% of the stuff. I was like, oh, I missed that much? Really? Was it all just missile tanks? Anyway, but I'll say this. Maybe it would have helped if I got every single thing. But goddamn, the last boss is hard.
Yeah.
Just loads of attempts, like, and he's got like 4 phases. So just when you think it's done, like I genuinely put the Switch down after like the third thing because I thought, well, that's got to be it now. And then it just kept going. It's like, oh fucking hell, I had to pick it back up again. I thought, oh, it's still going. You don't have 4 phases. What's going on? Die.
It was literally like what happened with me when I played Fallen Order. I would put the controller down because I was like, oh, it's just a cutscene. And then it was like right at the end, it has the, without spoiling, you know what I mean, Chris. Said character appears and I was like, oh, I can actually do stuff. This is gameplay. This isn't a cutscene. So, yeah, it's cool when it does like that, but it's also like, oh, wait, I need to actually play. But yeah, I've heard the final boss on Metroid Dread is really good, but hard.
It is. It's definitely the hardest one out of all of them.
If it's the final boss, it makes sense.
Yeah. Just in general, for Metroid Dread, it's definitely the hardest one out of the lot. I think the only one that comes close is Samus Returns. That's pretty difficult as well. But on the scale of Metroid, anyway, that's pretty tough. Especially if you like put it on the hard difficulty, as one may expect. But Metroid Dread features like extra difficulty modes once you beat it as well, which I will not be attempting because it was hard enough on the regular difficulty. Which is not something I'd ever thought I'd say about Metroid. Metroid is a series I don't sort of relate to being difficult. The sort of games are just going to sort of pick up and play.
But maybe I'm not very good.
Well, I've been playing like since Super Metroid and played them to death, and that was like my favourite game as a kid. So when it comes to Metroid, I like to think I know what I'm doing. But then I look at speedrunners and realise I know fuck all. Anyhow. But yeah, again, just glad I've got that done. And yeah, it was stellar. And if you still haven't played Metroid Dread, go and play it. It's a good game. Don't wait for a price drop because it's Nintendo. It will never come down in price unless you get it secondhand at some random charity shop.
It was mine and Chris's Game of the Year of 2021.
It sure was. Good times. So that is you, Dan. What do you have in your backlogs? Which games took you absolutely ages or several attempts of getting around to being?
I do have one that will interest both of you, actually. Funny enough, it's because you mentioned one earlier, Brandon, in our little group chat. And then, just as you mentioned the topic, Chris, I came into my mind and I was like, oh yeah, that game did take me a while to beat. I think when I finally beat Persona 3, that will be the actual game that will have taken me the longest, because that was my main game, and then I've now put it off for over 5 years, and I haven't played it since. And I have put 200 hours in, and I still need to play more. But I think of like recent of a game that I started and then stopped, and then I picked up and then finished it. It'd be Final Fantasy 7. I didn't finish Final Fantasy 7 for the first time until lockdown. I played all of it until the crater. I got basically down. I nearly got to the bottom of the crater. Then I died, and I hadn't saved for like 2 hours, and I stopped. I stopped playing. Never played it again, and then I rebought it on my Switch, and I was like, oh, I may as well just play it from the beginning, and there you go. And I beat it. I put like 60 hours in. Love it.
I do think what helps in like the remasters of that is it gives you like a speed up option that you use after a bit.
That helped as well. But
it's not like you're missing out on much, because especially like during turn-based battles, it just makes things quicker. So I don't see it as a sort of cheat or anything. It just saves you time in the long run.
There's one. I'm notoriously bad at starting games and then not finishing them. I'm very bad at that. I'm very glad I finished Fallen Order, for example. Like I kept picking it up and stopping, and because I'm going through all the Star Wars, I was like, no. Before I get to this point on my watch order, I need to finish Fallen Order. So that made me try and that forced myself to finish it, for example. But I've just put Rise of the Tomb Raider back into my PS4 because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to finish that, don't I? And I've got Shadow of the Tomb Raider sitting on my shelf to play once I finish Rise of the Tomb Raider. So. I've got a stupid amount of games that I started and not finished. I've got a game called The Last Story on my Wii that I've never touched, and I'm like, I've had this game for so long and I never played it, and I feel like I should finally play it. Apparently it's only like 30 hours long. It's not massive, but it's like I bought it so long ago and I've never touched it.
It's kind of strange, isn't it? Because it kind of feels a bit like a sort of bucket list. It's like sometimes I feel like sort of spiritually tied to these games. As like, I can't die yet. I haven't finished Metal Gear Rising.
It's like so I got Octopath Traveler 2 the other week, but I've not played it yet because I'm like, well, I want to play it. I want to give myself a good amount of time, but I'm also like, I'm like halfway through Octopath Traveler 1, and I put in like 50 hours into that, and I'm not. And
you know for a fact if you start playing it, then you'll completely got sidetracked, and then you won't see it again for like 20 years.
I know.
Oh yeah, no. I'll have to start again from scratch. That's 50 hours down the toilet. I can't remember what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
Random one I've never finished. Sonic Heroes. Never finished it.
Really?
It's staring me down the face.
Oh.
That's just reminding me of another Sonic game which I've been looking for ages to want to finish, and that's Sonic Riders.
Yeah,
that was something with me because when I had the original Xbox, I absolutely loved Sonic Riders, and because that was like probably the only Sonic game I played since Sonic Adventure 2. Obviously, which is not necessarily a good thing, but I did miss that game.
Don't worry, Brandon. I might be the only one out the three of us who's finished Shadow the Hedgehog.
Wait, as in getting all the endings?
Well, at least. Yeah.
Because I've still not completed. I've got like a couple of the endings, but I've not actually completed it in its entirety.
No, I got The Last Story and beat it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I might be the only one of us three who has done that.
Yeah, fair enough. You get that. I finished it and got a ending.
I'm proud of that.
I ended up fighting is it the egg gambler thing?
Yeah.
One of the bosses is like, yeah, that'll do. I've had enough. I don't think it was good enough for me to like justify going back and doing all of the endings.
Good enough.
Oh no.
It's pretty bad.
It's not terrible. People say like, oh, it's like one of the worst games ever. It really isn't. Have you played Bubsy 3D? That's one of the worst fucking games. If you're grading on a curve, I mean, yeah, it's not great, but it's not like ruined your childhood or anything like that, or actually give you PTSD. It's not that bad. For a casual playthrough, it's fine. If you ignore like all the endings and just want to go through each level once, it's fine. Yeah, just don't try and complete it though. That's where it transcends from like being a okay to average game to Crisis is tedious territory. Again, I suppose I could say the same with Shadow the Hedgehog as I could for Paper Mario. It's like you'll have a better time if you just play it casually than you would do trying to 100% the damn thing, which is a strange comparison, which I'm sure nobody's ever made between Paper Mario and Shadow the Hedgehog. But there we go.
Now that we've spoke about Shadow the Hedgehog, it is actually giving me memories of getting very annoyed at Shadow the Hedgehog because it was just I don't know what it was about the game, but I just couldn't sit down and play it for a couple hours. Like it was just I'm in the mood and play play it for half an hour.
I think you should do it, Brandon. I think you should. I think you should finish Shadow the Hedgehog 100%.
Yeah.
Who knows? You've got that spiritual thing going on with your gravestone now. Maybe that's what needs to put its spirit to rest.
Well, funny you mentioned that because there's quite a few games on Game Pass and it's like, oh, I used to play that when I was younger, and I've discovered there's quite a few Xbox games which I used to play which are on the Xbox store, which I didn't actually realise.
Go for it. What you got? Quick fire round.
I don't know. I have to open up Game Pass now. Let me do that now. Hold on, bear with. Right, cue the intermission music.
I also remember I played like an hour of Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, and I've not played any more.
You know what? I played about 3 hours of Lightning Returns, and I want my 3 hours back.
I played an hour, and I think that was enough.
Yeah. You got a lucky escape.
Yeah.
I finished like 13, and that was crap. I finished 13 too, and that was a hell of a lot better. I didn't mind that one, oddly enough.
I have a weird soft spot for Final Fantasy 13, but I also kind of agree with a lot of the criticisms of it. But I'm like, I kind of had a weird fun with it. But yeah, 13.2 definitely fixed some of those problems. Still not all of them.
I don't know exactly why I got every single achievement on it. I don't think I had much else to play at the time.
Which game?
I certainly did. On 13 too. I got every achievement. I did a lot. No idea why.
So I've just opened up Game Pass, and some of the games which are screaming out to me is Hollow Knight. Not fucking finished it yet, because I've got a track record of, in the 2 times that I have played Hollow Knight, it has corrupted 2 PlayStations. So I've just avoided it with a 10-foot barge pole. Out of phobia, it will corrupt a 3rd. So that's the main one. Like all of the Gears of War games, like I went to CEX and bought like Gears of War 1. Still not finished it. It's just sat in my loft now with my Xbox 360, just sat upstairs. So that's another set of games like the Gears of War series. I'm just scrolling down now. Where's it gone? I've lost it.
I'll say this for Hollow Knight if you're thinking of going back to that one. And I highly recommend you do. It's a lot bigger than you expect. Like you think, oh, is it like a Metroidvania? What's it going to take me like 10, 15 hours to beat? It's like, no, you're looking like near 40.
I know, that's one thing which originally sort of pulled me in, is because it's got plenty of hours of replayability in it. Yeah. Starbound, I was quite shocked when I found Starbound was on Game Pass. I was just like, I picked that up when I was going through my Terraria phase. I was like, but at the time it was in its like beta phase, and it just kept crashing and being all buggy. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that's something to play, I guess.
Here's a random one. Alien Isolation. That took me about 4 different play sessions to actually get around to finishing it. I literally started the game like 4 times because I liked the start of it, but then every time I just kept going, and I actually rage quit on like everyone because it just seemed completely random as to when I died, and then it sends you back quite a way because of the checkpoint system, and I just couldn't be fucked. But I think it was like over lockdown. I was like, no, I'm going to beat this fucking game. I'm not going to let it get the better of me. 4 for 10, let's go. And I bought it on day 1 on launch day, so I played full whack for it, and I was still being annoyed that I didn't finish it. And again, that's a game that's a lot longer than you anticipate. You think, oh, what's it going to be like? About 8 hours? It's like, no, you're looking like nearer 25. It's like, bloody hell. I think the thing with Alien Isolation is like, it does seem like sort of random as to when you die, but as you play the game for a bit, you sort of notice certain tells and stuff that I didn't notice before. Like some parts where I seem to die randomly, it's because the alien was coming from a vent at the top, and even though you can't see it, you can notice that there's like sort of saliva dripping through the vents, which I swear in like my first 2 playthroughs I just never noticed. But once I clicked it, it's like everything fell into place. It's like, that's why I kept dying. Then it still seemed a bit harsh sometimes, but once I sort of finally got over the hump from like my 4th playthrough, finally did it. I went from like starting like the first 3 chapters like 4 times to just beating the whole thing on my last go. And I'm glad I did because I did enjoy it in the end. But I can't see myself playing it again. Not for a 5th time. No more. Any more, guys? This is fun. So. This is grabbing a load of games, talking about them randomly.
Well, there's probably literally a bunch of other games which I've still not completed, which I'm still on my to play list. But like, okay, I've just seen another one now. Don't Starve. Started that maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Not finished it just because it's so fucking hard.
Dead Rising 3. Bought that at launch. Why haven't I finished Dead Rising 3? I've only put like 2 hours into that. I finished the crap out of the first and the second one. I don't understand. Why haven't I? I need to go back to that one. That's one. Right, Akami and Dead Rising 3. I'm going to start making a list of the games I've yet to finish. Akami, Dead Rising 3, Metal Gear Rising. Metal Gear Rising's really short, so I don't know why I haven't finished that one.
I'm just looking through this. There's just so many games which, literally, I think me getting the Xbox Game Pass has just opened up a tin of worms.
Basically,
So I've recently
These are all the games we have not finished. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really tend to play that many games together. It's like either Genshin Impact or Overwatch. But she's like downloaded the Alice Madness one, the Disney game that's on the Game Pass. She's downloaded those.
Alice Madness Returns is good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so she's got that. And then obviously I was partly disappointed when I saw Scorn on there, and I was like, rest in peace. We know how we feel about that.
Have you actually played it yet, Ben?
No, and I don't want to.
Give it a go. Just see how you feel.
I've seen enough of it to sort of have an idea of what I'll be in for.
I can understand if it's not your thing, because it wasn't really my thing as it turned out. But I'd say it's worth experiencing just for the visuals alone. It's having a wander around. It's kind of weird. So.
I think I'm spent.
Yeah, we've managed to crowbar everything in. At one point, I thought, oh no, we're talking about Wo Long for far too long. We're not going to get to talk about everything. But I think I discussed everything I wanted to today.
I didn't want to. I knew with some of the stuff I had, I didn't want to go on like talk about it for too long. Like let's take Metro Prime. If you've not played Metro Prime by now, what are you doing?
Yeah,
I don't know. What am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, Brandon?
Everyone, look for.
Literally, the only thing I know about Metroid is Samus, and that's as far as I know because of Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Everyone, look forward to the Victory Achieved podcast in 20 years' time, where it turns out Dan still hasn't finished Metroid Prime.
I actually have never finished Metroid Prime.
We'll check in 20 years and see how you go. See if you got. I started it 4 times and still got past the first round yet.
I've got to the final boss of Metroid Prime, but I haven't beaten it. Hopefully, with the new controls, I'll be able to. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Great game. But...
I suppose Prime has got the same sort of thing as like GoldenEye did, where like the rehaul controls has made it so much more playable.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
And therefore, it's taken away most of the challenge as well. At least it didn't GoldenEye.
Yeah. Well, that's another episode. Episode 48. Getting through the things. Episodes now. 2 more until one. Well, we've got 1 more, and we do our 50th episode.
Wow,
we've got something special for that.
We have something special for that, indeed.
Yeah, which I need to talk to you about after the podcast.
Yes, I was gonna ask you as well. Anyway, actually, as our loyal listeners know, you can follow us on our social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow these 2 on not Twitter. We can follow
Witcher.
Or you can follow Chris on Twitter, he's on there, and you can follow you on Twitch. That's what I was going for. Twitter, Twitch, I get confused.
We're everywhere. Just type in Victory Achieved or Spanky Rambles or Cybarker. You'll find us. We take up like most of the internet between us all.
And don't forget, Spanky Rambles has been doing a lot of YouTube Shorts recently as well.
Yes, and TikTok Shorts and Instagram stories.
I'm still trying to get my TikTok algorithm to work, and it's not having any of it. I keep getting shown dancing videos. And
I keep getting shown all kind of weird shit, which I keep saying I'm not interested in permanently. That's like the number one thing I do on there. But no, don't want that.
I
think I've genuinely found, of all the thousands of videos that gets thrown at me, I think I've only genuinely found 2 I think are all right. That's it. Anyhow.
I've not even downloaded the app.
Download it just so you can follow me.
What was funny was I went for a walk with my dad and he went, "Oh, I've got TikTok." And I was like, "I don't even have TikTok. And I'm 30 years younger than you." Fucking hell.
Again, because
over 30 years, I mean.
Because I used to hate stuff like that, and I guess I still do. It's like any other social media thing. As long as you like filter out all the stuff you don't want to see, like you'll get on fine.
To be fair, he told me the reason, and I was like, okay, I don't know if that's a good reason to download TikTok, but
is it for the dancers? Is it for the dancers like everyone else seems to be getting TikTok for?
No, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to say the reason on the podcast.
Oh, fair enough.
But I can tell you that once we're done recording. I'm not going to say it while we're recording. But I was like, okay.
You don't have to now because I'm intrigued.
Yeah. But yeah, as you know, you can follow us on all the standard social media and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, and you'll hear us in 2 weeks for episode 49.
Whoop, whoop, etc.
Ta-da.
See you later.
Bye.